Hello, listeners, and welcome to the inaugural episode of Balls Out, where we talk everything and anything NBA. Now, I want to introduce you all to somebody because I believe those who meet this man genuinely go on to live more enjoyable lives. That man is Zach Lane. Zach, how are you tonight?
I am wonderful. Thank you so much for that gracious introduction.
Of course.
I could say the same things about you myself, but you already said them, so it's all summed up. I just wanted to say this is a podcast about the NBA. It's the Balls Out podcast. It's the only podcast on air where we talk about guys balling out, guys that metaphorically play with their balls out, and hosted by two sexy little devils that record the podcast with their balls out.
Oh yeah, my testes are feeling the breeze right now.
Yeah, ball check, secured. They're hanging.
Not very secure.
Got the saggy natties dropping low right now. I think I'm ready to rock.
Wonderful. Awesome. So tonight we're talking all NBA teams, and then later on we're going to dive into the playing games a little bit, do some playoff previews. I should note that we're recording this on Monday night, Monday, May 17th. So
all the regular season games all just finished up yesterday, so we're recording the day before the play-in starts.
That's right. So these All-NBA teams are official. All the stats are in.
Regular season's ended. Stats final. No debates now.
Absolutely, except for the debates that we're about to have, because I know that it's going to get pretty contentious.
Except for this.
Yeah,
there's gonna be venom and barbs flying everywhere.
Yeah. So Zach, do you want to start with your first team?
I would love to. I'm pretty solidly confident about this first team of mine, so let's get down to brass tacks. I guess we can explain the All-NBA teams just for everybody that doesn't know how it works, because it is a little bit different this year with how they allowed the positions. Right. So it is 2 guards, 2 forwards, still a center. They switched up the center and forward positions for a lot of players. So you have guys like Nikola Jokic and Joel Embiid, who are 2 of the best centers in the league. They're both eligible at power forward and center, which would theoretically allow somebody to put both of them on the first team. Theoretically would allow a coward to do such a thing. I, myself, no coward, so I will not be putting Embiid on my first team.
Wow. I'm playing by the rules here, man.
Hey, you do your thing. You can hide behind the NBA's little white blanket and have a good time with that.
And we should know there's a lot of guards and forwards who can go either way, too, such as Luka Doncic, Jason Tatum, Paul George, Jimmy Butler.
Is Bradley Beal guard forward?
I think he's only eligible at guard. I actually think Jokic is only eligible at center.
Jokic is only at center. And Gobert is also only at center.
Right. I think Bam is a forward/center.
So basically the NBA was just begging for Embiid to be on the first team by allowing him to be a forward.
I really see their point, though. After the season he's had, I can't imagine leaving him off the first team. I'm not trying to tip anything off towards what my list looks like, but...
All right, well, I'll get started on my list.
Yeah, go for it.
We got the 2 first-team guards, Steph Curry, Damian Lillard. Pretty easy choices. Mm-hmm. Steph was the scoring leader this year. He was the first scoring leader at age 33 or older since Michael Jordan, the only one to ever do it. So,
I know that. That's crazy.
Joins historic company with that.
Yeah, that's pretty elite company.
Steph, yeah. Yeah, he's, that Michael Jordan guy, some people have probably heard of him at this point.
Not bad.
Yeah, he's got some sick shoes or whatever. Steph was the scoring leader this year. Ultra high efficiency, which is pretty typical for Steph. 48% from the field, 42 from 3, 91 from the free throw line. Almost 50-40-90 club.
Yeah, pretty
as
close.
The scoring leader, which that level of volume and efficiency is just practically unheard of. He shot 12.7 threes a game this year, which I don't know the exacts of it, but that sounds like the all-time high. The only one that I could think that would have shot more would be James Harden in one of the last 2 or 3 years.
Right. Yeah, I think his MVP seasons before Durant joined the Warriors, he had up around 12 attempts as well, maybe 11 or 12.
Yeah, that season before Durant showed up, he was at 11. 2 years ago, the last season that they did have Durant, he was at 11.7, and then this year he just shot a whole extra 3 per game, which...
Yeah, and basically carried a terrible team otherwise to a play-in game. Like, they have a fighter's chance of getting a first-round series in the playoffs.
Against the Lakers, which is so beyond exciting.
Yeah, it's going to be a crazy play-in game. We'll get into that a bit later.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, Steph took 21.7 field goal attempts per game this year. He took 12.7 3-point attempts. So he shot 9 shots a game that weren't threes. So he was just absolutely jacking, hitting them at
Shocking.
An insane rate still. 42 is like, for any player to shoot 42% from the 3-point line, that's an amazing year. That's most players' career highs. For Steph, that's just like a little bit lower than average, since his career average is 43% from 3.
Right. So where is Steph on your MVP ballot?
So on my MVP ballot, Steph he's in the top 5, but he's probably hovering right around 5, I would say. It's just
Around 5.
The lack of team success for me is just why I can't put him up that high, because I just couldn't. I mean, as the player on the Warriors, as the games that he's played in, so he played a total of 63 games this year.
Mm-hmm.
They had a really solid. They had like a really overachieving record when he did play. When he didn't play, they just absolutely went to shit, and so that's the reason that they're in the play-in. But I just couldn't reward somebody that's going to be in the play-in game with like that high of MVP honors. Even though it's not saying that he's the number 1, not saying that he's the number 2. Like, just the level of season that he had is fantastic, and he definitely deserves mention there, but I don't think he's like a legit MVP contender.
Right. I wouldn't vote for him for MVP. I think Jokic is a pretty clear-cut winner here, but I have him probably third on my ballot. Agreement. Behind the 2 big men. Yep.
And you have Jokic number 1 and Embiid number 2.
Right, yeah. So I have Steph I also have Steph on my first team. Who's your other guard?
So Steph, unanimous first team. I'm sure it'll be that for everybody worldwide at this point.
Yeah, best guard in the league this year, I'd say.
The second guard that I had was Damian Lillard.
Nice, we got consensus in our first team guards.
Wow. Whole lot of interesting content then.
I know, right? Not button heads yet, but I have a feeling it's coming.
It'll be it's in the works. There's just not a lot of room for debate when it comes to those 2 guys. Dame was putting up 28 a game this year, 7 assists. He played 67 games. He had to play a lot of those games without CJ McCollum, who was playing at an all-star level and almost rivaling Dame's production at the time that he ended up getting injured at the beginning of the year.
Right.
They lost CJ. They lost Nurkic for a while.
Right. He started the season without both of them. He basically had to carry a pretty shitty team about midway through the season before they got CJ back. Before Nurkic is back, but he's playing at a limited capacity. He's splitting time with Cantor still.
Mm-hmm. Still got no Zach Collins.
Right.
Who knows if Zach Collins will ever play in the fucking NBA? They do have this really amazing, talented player named Carmelo Anthony, who just seems ageless. He's just dipped in the fountain of youth, just putting in work for the Trailblazers this year.
It feels inevitable that he's going to have one of these playoff games, like a game 2, where he just goes off for like 40 points and is the reason why the Trailblazers pull off like an upset in the first round.
Mm-hmm. That's the only unfortunate part about the Trailblazers actually making the playoffs and not the play-in. Because if it was Trailblazers-Lakers in a play-in game, Melo would take fucking 25 shots in that game in LeBron's face, trying to get the dub. which would probably be to the detriment of the Trailblazers as a team. But for my enjoyment as a lifelong Carmelo Anthony fan, oh my god, I would be freaking the fuck out.
Oh yeah, that guy can ball out.
So, Dame, there's not too much to say about him. At this point, everybody pretty much knows who Damian Lillard is. You know the clutch shots. You know the half-court pull-ups. You know that's a bad shot in Paul George's mouth. You know the playoff success, somewhat lack of playoff success. They've won some rounds. They made it to a conference finals. Dame always seems to show up at the biggest moments. It's just the team hasn't always been up to his level, so it's kind of the same thing this year. The team wasn't really up to his level, and Dame just continued to carry and bring them to a playoff berth, not even the play-in, as they were last year.
Right. We'll see if they can get that reliable second fiddle to help them out, whether it's CJ one game or Norman Powell. You know, we haven't even talked about him yet. He's really come along. He's a guy who can really swing a series with his scoring ability.
My first All-NBA forward, actually.
yeah, good one.
Norman Powell. Yeah, I think he's eligible at forward and guard, so I feel like slide him right in there.
Yeah, right.
It's too easy.
Speaking of your first team forward, let's hear about him.
So, first team forward lock. My 2 first-team forwards, one of them very, very easy, one of them was tough. The lock was Giannis. Won the MVP each of the last 2 years. Everybody knows about the playoff flameouts. The guy at this point is still 26 years old, I'm pretty sure. He's made it to a conference finals. They lost in the second round last year to the Heat, which was the huge deal of the bubble, and I feel like kind of started this somewhat anti-Giannis campaign, which I'm kind of for it. Not really, though. He really does need to develop some sort of go-to move or jump shot for the playoffs, but...
What, just running into the paint and dunking doesn't count as a move?
Yeah, just taking 18 steps and then just dropping it through the hoop.
Hey, if I got away with traveling, I'd do it all the time.
I'd love to do some traveling, man. me and you together.
Oh, that's sweet. Yeah, another thing, his ability to play both ends of the floor at such an elite level just really puts him on a whole nother level. Like, his defensive player of the year last year. He hasn't quite lived up to that this year, but he hasn't had to. He's gotten a lot of help. He's got Drew Holiday now. He doesn't have to really swarm the perimeter like he was last year, playing that free safety position.
Now they don't have the crust lord Eric Bledsoe holding them back. They actually got a dog in there.
Yeah, so Giannis' numbers, just 28 per game, 6 assists, 11 boards, 57% from the field. That's just staggering. Being able to score 20 a game on 57%, like...
It's just insane.
He's just like a wet dream for the regular season.
Over 1 steal, over 1 block, like... just putting in the work everywhere. As a two-way player, pretty much unmatched in the league at this point. He's a 7-footer who can guard every single position and can, on offense, at least dunk the ball very hard and take massive steps. So, and I mean, we're underrating his offense and joking around about his offense a little bit, but averaging 28 a game and 6 assists. That's pretty amazing.
You win back-to-back MVPs, people start to get a little sick of you, I guess. Yeah. A little fatigued.
Which, if it was my MVP ballot, I would probably have Giannis as third on my MVP list. I would not have Giannis as the number 1. I mean, just because I think Jokic is the clear-cut favorite. But Giannis, I would have him probably as my third guy, just because... he's still doing the same things that he's been doing the last 2 years when he was MVP. It's just there's less hype around it now because he's got to show what he can do in the playoffs. So.
Right. All right, so 2 guards and 1 forward in, and so far we're 3 for 3.
3 for 3. Team.
But now I think things are about to change. Who's your forward?
Things are about to get a little bit spicy here.
Oh, yeah.
I have the Claw, Kawhi Leonard, big ol' mitts, lockdown defender, the Jesus of Toronto, we could say, the savior, bringing them out of their mega playoff drought, or mega never won a championship. Not so much of a playoff drought, but never won a championship until he went there for 1 year, delivered the championship.
And he goes to the City of Angels.
City of Angels, LA. They make the bold proclamation that they're the best team in LA last year. They flame out against yours truly's Nuggets in the playoffs. Yeah. Blow a 3-1 lead.
Ugh. That was some series, though.
Dude, that was... Oh, man. That series to
it's
me.
Like, you could tell halfway through Game 7 that the Clippers just didn't have it. They were unmotivated. They didn't play it like it was a Game 7. And then the Nuggets, they just wanted it more. Like, I know it's a cliche, but Jokic went out there and he proved to be unstoppable. Meanwhile, Kawhi Leonard coming off a championship.
You want to know what happened? You want to know what really happened? You got some guys on the Nuggets reaching down, pulling their balls out, laying them on the table, and just taking big swings. And you know what the Clippers are doing? A whole lot of nothing. A whole lot of no balls.
They're wearing like 5 pairs of pants. Their balls are far from it.
5 pairs of pants. They got a chastity belt. The key is out the window. Those balls aren't going anywhere. They haven't lotioned them up in days. They're not showing them to anybody.
No skincare routine on those Nuggets. Oh,
absolutely. No, on the Clippers.
Yeah, I mean, poor choice of words for balls, I guess.
Big Nuggets for the Nuggets. But mega flame out in the playoffs last year. They come back this year. They end up dropping to the 4 seed because they threw the game last night because they're trying to avoid the Lakers in the playoffs. Which
who really runs LA, huh?
I can't penalize anybody for trying to avoid the Lakers in the playoffs, because if the Lakers, they're a playing team, they're probably going to be the 7 or 8 seed. If you have to play the Lakers, the defending champions, in the first round, that's a fucking tall order, and that's a fucking absolute nightmare. So any jockeying that you have to do to get out of that, I completely understand. But what Kawhi's done this year, pretty unassailable. The guy's putting up almost 25, 6, and 5. He's got a career high in assists this year on only 2 turnovers a game.
Yeah, his efficiency is remarkable. He was close to being a 50, 40, 90 guy.
Yeah, tiptoeing the line on 50, 40, 90. He's real close 3-point percentage, a little bit lower on free throw percentage, but he's shooting over 50% from the field. He's almost 40% from 3. He can get a shot from anywhere. He has he's got that kind of that old man type deal with just the grown man strength, where he just kind of leans into you a little bit, bumps you off, and then just rises right up, and there's nothing you can do about his shot.
He'll take anybody one-on-one and just pull up right in their face with the smallest amount of space, and it seems like in the biggest moments even, just sink it.
And what are you going to do? There's nothing you can do against it.
Right. So I don't have Kawhi on my first team. I have him down on my second team.
Besides that, though, don't discount Kawhi's defense, because...
Oh, that's known. That's been
consistently one of the best. He's got a Defensive Player of the Year. He's consistently one of the best defensive players in the game. Tones it down in the regular season a little bit at this point, but you know when playoffs come alive, Kawhi Leonard's locking anybody up. One of the only people that I've seen block Kevin Durant, so...
Yeah, I mean, he should have a ring just for that. A trophy on his mantle. I blocked Kevin Durant once. Not many guys would have that award.
At least something. Give the guy a medal. I mean, Christ.
Yeah, I mean, the case against Kawhi really lies in the amount he's played. 52 games. He's played 1,700 minutes. It's like 91st in the league.
Is that confirmed?
Yes, that is confirmed. I didn't just pull that out of my ass.
Just making sure.
But the guy I have ahead of him has played even less.
Oh.
He's played even one fewer game.
Very sneaky.
And about 150 fewer minutes. That man is Joel Embiid.
You're making the case for him big time right now.
Yeah, right?
You're really selling it.
I gotta lead with the bad stuff so I leave a good taste in your mouth. So, Joel Embiid. Another guy, it's known what he does on the defensive end. It seems like everybody in that 76ers lineup can guard 1 through 5. And they really just need Embiid to be in the paint and be an anchor, contest shots at the rim, block shots, grab rebounds, and go. And that's what he's done on that end. On the offensive end, 28.5 points a game, 10.6 rebounds, shot 51%. That's awesome. I mean, especially for someone who's taking as many outside shots as Embiid for a center.
Yeah, he
loves that mid-range game.
Very solid midi game.
Takes some threes. Decent three-point percentage. Not bad. You got to respect him out there. High 30s.
I did not notice that he shot 37% from a three this year. That's really good.
Pretty impressive. You got to respect him. He hit that one game winner early in the season. I forgot against who. It might have been the Bucks.
The one where he got it, took the dribble, stepped back out there, and just wet it.
It was outrageous.
Yeah, I think it was the Bucks because I think Brook Lopez was flying out on him.
Right. So that was back when Embiid MVP talks were at a high, That was back before he missed all these games, which, again, is not something we should underrate. But in the games that he has played, he's been the best player by far on the best team in the East. Or the team who won the most games in the East, I should say.
Good catch.
Can't crown them the best team yet. Joel Embiid is he's my MVP runner-up as of now, by the time we're voting.
Also mine.
I mean, he's outscoring Giannis. It's no small potatoes. It's outscore the freak.
Absolutely not. That guy's a freak.
Right.
Tough to score more than a freak, dude. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, right.
Oh yeah. So first though, we should say just why I don't have Embiid on my first team.
Oh right. Sorry. Go on. Why don't you just sack up and list him as as a forward?
Hey, balls out, dude. I told you they're hanging right now.
All right, my balls are out, dude. I'm ready to fucking bash them together.
I'm just... I would pay a lot of money to see it. I'm just a stickler for the honor and the sanctity of the game of basketball and
give me a break.
the purity of these all NBA teams. I just think the NBA really fucking schmoozed it. They really, really wanted Embiid to be on the first team. The fact that you make him eligible at power forward and you don't make Jokic eligible at power forward. The guys both play center all the time. I think there was one game where Embiid checked in at the same time as Tony Bradley, and technically Tony Bradley was listed as center, so Embiid got 3 minutes of power forward run, so I guess now he's eligible at power forward.
Right, he's played 99% of his minutes at center.
The guy's a center.
Right, I agree.
If it's just actual play-wise, actual stats-wise, regardless of positions, Embiid would be on my first team. I just can't put two centers on it. I have to stick him on my second team just for being a center. Because if he had played all the games, he might be the center. He might be the first-team center. But unfortunately, the guy that's ahead of him played every single game this year and played out of this world every single game this year yet again.
Right. So, I understand Embiid has played 99% of his minutes at center.
Interesting.
And I don't feel great about it. But if the NBA is going to let me put the second best player in the league this year on the first team, I have to do it.
I'm not going to say too many bad things about you right now. At least not on the pod. Maybe behind your back when we get off of this. I'll start spewing to my roommate over here, but I'll just, you can take the coward's way out. You can put Embiid on the first team, and we can just be done with it.
Yeah, dude. Better than having Kawhi. All right, now to the biggest lock that I've ever seen, and that's Jokic. I mean, guy played every game. Third in the league in minutes played. He's just making this impact night in and night out that is unmatched. I mean, you can't guard him with one guy. He'll score right over the top. He'll hit one of those funky little floaters that he does, or take you straight back to the basket. finish at the
Or
rim.
his little turn 1-foot fadeaway that just hits the rafters and then splashes in without touching the net.
Just these heinous moves that doesn't look like belong on a basketball court, and he makes them happen, to the tune of 26 a game, shooting 56%.
Disgusting. He looks like a head chef at a seafood place, and then is just raining in impossible jumpers and hook shots. It's unbelievable.
But you send help his way, and he's going to pick you apart. I mean, he can see over the top of everybody. He's 7 feet tall, and he's got this vision that we've never seen from somebody at his position.
We can both say it right now. Best passing center of all time.
Easily. And he's 26.
He's 26. He's not fully in his prime yet.
It's crazy. And these angles he sees, it's like he's playing in the fourth dimension. He's just not even playing basketball at this point.
He's literally opening up portals to toss passes through that just give guys a point-blank, wide-open layups.
It's like one of those shitty Bleacher Report edits that they throw on their Twitter. But it's real life.
It's exactly like that. An emphasis on shitty Bleacher Report.
I get he doesn't make the defensive impact.
I mean, unless you want to give either of us a job.
Yeah, I mean, Bleacher Report's not shitty if they're paying me, but...
Yeah, if so, we'll cut this.
Anyway, his impact on the defensive end, it's not nearly to the level of Embiid or Giannis or Rudy Gobert or Bam Adebayo or any of these other big men, but he's making enough of an impact. He's good enough on defense.
He's not a slouch.
He's not a liability like he was in his younger days when he was visibly very out of shape.
Very out of shape.
Yeah, right before the bubble last year, he worked himself into a pretty good body there.
I mean, my balls are out.
Shit, well, our balls are out, right? I'll talk about this guy.
Might as well be honest.
Yeah, I mean, this guy balls out. So, Jokic, not much more to say about him. Moving on to
Also,
the second team. Oh, yeah, sorry, go on.
Well, I got a couple. I just don't want to discount. I don't think I've heard a lot of people bring up just the fact that how many games were missed by his teammates during this year and how tough it was for them to have a full team, because Michael Porter Jr. had COVID twice, had a very long absence just because of health and safety protocols.
Maybe he shouldn't be anti-vax, you know? Maybe he should stick that needle in his arm.
Maybe, yeah. Rethink your entire fucking belief system, Michael Porter Jr., but that's besides the point. That guy absolutely balls the fuck out, and they missed him towards the beginning of this year. He was supposed to be the third option coming into the season. And
that's a lot to put on him at this point, at this stage in his career.
Lots put on him, but I mean, broad shoulders, maybe from anti-vax, I don't know. Like, he's got all these homegrown nutrients, nothing artificial being put in his body. I don't know, it's just a little devil's advocate here.
He wouldn't have a back without modern medicine is the thing.
Yeah, that's true. He wouldn't have millions of dollars at this point already. He came into the year, he's supposed to be their third best player. By the end of the season, easily their third best player. I mean, because of the Jamal Murray injury. So then that takes us to the Jamal Murray injury. Their second best player, the guy who has, for the past 2 years, turned it up in the playoffs.
Man, they'd have a real shot at the title if he was healthy.
In my opinion, they would have been the ones for the championship. I would have picked them to go all the way. They had such a complete team. They have Murray, they have Barton, they have Porter, they got Aaron Gordon at the deadline, and then they have the MVP in Jokic. And then a pretty solid bench, so they had a really good team. Jamal Murray's ACL, unfortunate. I mean, best wishes to him for a full recovery. But Jokic was missing his second best player on the team, his running man, the guy who he has insane chemistry with, where Jamal Murray as the point guard will set screens for Jokic as the center. And then they'll somehow get just magic out of it. Either an open layup for Murray, an open three, an open little floater for Jokic, just something crazy, but the defense never knows what to do. Kick it to a shooter. Like, they have so many options. The defense never knows what to do when those two guys are playing together. And Jokic had to play probably the last third of the season without him. and kept the Nuggets on an insane pace and got them up higher than they were when Murray got hurt. So they got up to the 3 seed.
Right. I think they did something crazy, like won 9 of the next 10 games after Murray went down.
Yeah, something absurd. And
just rose to the occasion.
How do you lose your best player and then go on a tear like that?
Yeah, it's one thing that people don't talk about is how fiery of a competitor Jokic seems to be. Like, this is a guy that has always dialed it up come playoff time. The bigger the stage, the better this guy does.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna say it again. He's 26. It's remarkable how great he is at such a young age.
26, and we might be remembering the playoffs a lot differently last year if Anthony Davis didn't hit that buzzer beater 3 in Game 2 of their series against the Lakers.
Swung the whole series.
Because, oh man, I still just flash back to that moment and the possession before Anthony Davis hit that shot when Jokic just cleanly catches the ball at the 3-point line with Davis on him. And just proceeds to go absolute grown man daddy mode. Turns Anthony Davis. Pretends he's Shaq for a minute. Turns Anthony Davis into barbecue chicken. Backs him all the way down. Stuffs him under the basket. Lofts up a beautiful little hook over his head. And puts the Nuggets in the lead. And if Anthony Davis hadn't hit that shot, series would have been 1-1. Everybody would have been talking about how hard Jokic dominates Anthony Davis.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's just an example of how he rises to the occasion and steps up.
Right. All right. Talked about we got our first teams in, so just to recap, Zach has Steph, Dame, Giannis, Kawhi, and Jokic. I have 4 out of those 5.
Correct team.
The difference is I don't have little Kawhi Leonard. I have big man, big boy, big balls, Joel Embiid.
A little sneaky way out. But I still respect it.
It's fine. It's a little fundamental disagreement. A lot more disagreements on the second team.
All right.
I'm going to start it off. I've got the second leading scorer in the league, Brad Beal, as one of my guards on my second team. So Bradley Beal, right behind Steph, 31.3 points per game. On a slightly better field goal percentage than Steph. A much worse 3-point percentage. Bradley Beal, for some reason, has been getting worse as a 3-point shooter as the years have gone on, and he's taken on a larger role. It's kind of strange. He had one season like 4 years ago where he shot 40% on 7 attempts. And this year he's down to 35% on how many attempts, Zach?
6 attempts a game.
On less attempts. It's kind of nuts.
And last year he shot 8.4 threes a game. This year down to 6.2, which is pretty odd as the importance of threes rises.
Yeah, but I mean he's getting buckets either way. However you want to do it, Bradley Beal he'll give it to you. His balls are out. He's carrying that Wizards team, which I know he's got like a pretty good running mate in Russell Westbrook, but the jury is still out on whether he helps a team with all those stats. Whether those triple doubles are really valuable to a winning team, seeing as the Wizards finished below 500.
I would say they're definitely valuable to a very mids playoff team.
Yeah, I mean he's sick.
It seems like Westbrook has no problem being 6, 7, or 8 seed.
Yeah, as long as he gets his, right?
Exactly.
But anyway, this isn't about Westbrook. It's about Beal. So played 60 games. Played about 2,100 minutes. I mean, checks all the boxes as a scorer. I mean, call him good stats,
Absolutely.
bad team, all you want. He's a bucket. Brad Beal's a bucket. What do you have on Beal?
Enough said. Bradley Beal consistently gets buckets. He's probably, if you're a defender, one of the toughest matchups you're going to face in the NBA. Just because the fact that he's scoring 31 a game while shooting under 35% from 3 and only shooting 6 threes a game. I mean, Steph got the scoring title with 32 a game, and he shot more than double the amount of threes that Bradley Beal shot this year. And at such a higher percentage. So just the extra points that Steph's getting from the threes, like, it just shows Bradley Beal gets his points everywhere. And yeah, he's just pretty much unguardable at this point. He is the main guy in Washington. He's transitioned into that role, and also kudos to him for not trying to fight his way and just sabotage his way out of Washington and actually sticking
He's
somewhere
really
that that he wants to be at home with. So.
And he goes into every game, and I love his demeanor. He plays hard. He really grinds, you know. Every game, it's nice to see someone in the regular season really put it all on the line every game.
Exactly. I like to see guys give a shit about the scoring title too. Like you could tell Bradley Beal wanted to win the scoring title. Like he wanted to go out every night and do it. And like clearly Steph did too. But like Beal, he shows up for every single game. Mm-hmm. And I mean that's Westbrook too. Both of those guys as your two leaders on a team. I mean that's invaluable.
Right. And aside from those two guys, that team is pretty bad. You know, they're starting like Daniel Gafford. I think they started him last game. Yeah, Davis Bertans.
Can't hate on Daniel Gafford though.
Bertans taking a major step back after getting paid. Who else are they even trotting out there? Like Rui Hachimura.
Davis Bertans' arms taking a massive step back in muscle mass and definition. That's oh my god! Just look up a picture. It's unfucking believable.
That's the kind of analysis you only get on Balls Out.
That's right. It's the first thing I notice every time I tune into a Wizards game. Is just how does this guy reach from the 3-point line?
Man, he's looking tiny.
This is crazy. Those are noodles, dude.
Back to how Beal is just really a gamer. He the other night when they were competing for that play-in spot, he's playing on a bad hamstring. You know. There was one play in particular where I remember him going for a loose ball, going out of bounds, and then he's just clutching the back of his leg and hobbling his way back out onto the floor, getting ready for the next play. It's just remarkable.
Let me tell you who would never. Dave Lane with a bad hamstring. If he's listening
he'd be out
this,
for at least 12 months.
Oh, man. He wouldn't play pool basketball or horse for a year. So, Bradley Beal's commitment and dedication. That guy's a baller.
All right, so where do you have Beal? Is he on your second team?
So, that's where we diverge instantly on the second team. Because Bradley Beal drops down to the third for me. His numbers, unassailable. As a scorer and an offensive player, he's unstoppable. The team ended up 8th in the East, I'm pretty sure.
Yep.
So they ended up 8th. They ended up in the play-in. In a regular season, they would have made the playoffs at 8th. But they finished with a 34-38 record. Under 500 in the Eastern Conference, which is just weaker than the West in general. So, I mean, if you're thinking, okay, well, Steph's in the play-in and Bradley Beal's in the play-in, how could Steph be first team? How could Bradley Beal be third team? Well, just the efficiency for Steph is one thing. The Warriors in a tougher conference finished at 39-33, solidly above 500. Right. They finished at the 8th seed in the West. Wizards 8th seed in the East, like we said, 34-38. Under 500. They dealt with a lot of injuries this year and a lot of COVID protocol situations. But a lot of teams did also. And you have Bradley Beal and Russell Westbrook. You would think that you'd be higher than the 8th seed, or at least you'd be over a 500 record. But I just couldn't put him on the second team for that reason. And, I mean, he's not really anything special on the other side of the ball either. There's nothing to point to defensively. So
no, there's not. But the way I see it, I mean, there's nothing that special about Dame Lillard's defense, and we were able to put him up there on the first team.
That's true. But Damian Lillard did carry the Blazers to a 42-30 record solidly in the playoffs of the Western Conference.
Right.
Which
I would never argue Beal over Dame, but I'm just able to overlook his defense for just the offensive supernova that he is.
And for that, he gets third team for me.
Yeah, I think he's the third best guard this season. Well, fourth best guard, because I have one of my guards as a forward.
That's true. So that brings me to mine. I have two guards that I just think are more deserving, and one of them is listed at forward on your team.
That's right.
But I have Luka Doncic, as the first guard on my second team because
Gotcha.
he's unbelievable.
Right, and I'm on the same page as you. He's also on my second team, but I have him slotted as a forward. I needed space for guards. There's many good guards in the NBA. I wanted to be able to squeeze one more in there.
Which the NBA allows, so of course. But
I mean, he's 6'8". I don't feel bad about having him as a forward.
He's 6'8". The thing is, he brings the ball up the floor every single time, and he completely runs the offense.
That's so sick, dude.
Yeah, you know who brings the ball up on the court every single game for every single team?
Who?
You know what position does that?
What position, dude?
I think you know. Isn't it point guard for every team in NBA history and existence?
I guess so, man. But I look at Luka, I see G/F. I wish he was my GF.
So I see G/F. I'm wondering, Luka, you single? What's going on? Because when James Harden all of a sudden started bringing the ball up for the Rockets, they switched him over to point guard, and James Harden became a point guard full time. And he was never a forward anyway, but he went from shooting guard to point guard. And I just think really if you're running the offense, you're orchestrating like that. You're orchestrating the offense. You're responsible for everything. You're the point guard. So that's why I have Luka listed there. And, I mean, it's easy for mine because I just have him listed at guard anyway. So I don't have to try and finesse around and use the NBA's, dare I say it, soft loopholes this year.
A loophole's still a loophole. A hole's a hole.
A loophole.
As they say.
Hey, they do say it. I've said it a couple times. Yeah, we don't have to spend too much time on Doncic. He's 27, 8 and 8 a game. He's got the Mavericks in the 5th seed in the West this year.
He's kind of an MVP candidate.
He's kind of an MVP candidate. Played a decent amount without his running mate Kristaps Porzingis this year. Team dealt with. They were one of the teams most heavily affected by COVID. And they still ended up as the 5th seed, much to the sadness of Knicks fans everywhere, because the Knicks have the Mavericks pick in the draft coming up, and when the Mavericks started out slow this year, that was looking delicious for all of us.
Right, but it was only a matter of time before they righted that ship.
Before Luka kicked things into high gear. Playing as basically an MVP candidate. He's phenomenal, but he's down on my second team, under Dame as a guard just because of his just more inefficiency, higher turnovers.
Oh, yeah, that 4.3 turnovers really hurts. I think that's the second worst in the league behind Westbrook. And that's not kind company to be in when you're talking turnovers.
Yeah, you do not want to be in the same breath as Westbrook in that regard.
Right, it's like Westbrook and Trae Young and Luka as the guys to have 4 or more turnovers this year. And that's
Trae Young and Luka still intertwined, dude.
Yeah, right.
Trae Young can just never live it down. But yeah, Doncic played 66 games. He put up those numbers. The Mavericks team success. He's phenomenal. The one thing that I'll say about him is the big negative for me is just how consistently he bitches to refs. And as a third-year player, like, I get it. You're amazing. You put up monster numbers. You're a fantastic player. But your time's going to come where you're going to get the respect from the refs. Just take it easy. You're fucking 21 years old. You don't need to be crying about every time you get a fingernail touching you.
He already gets plenty of free throw attempts, too.
Exactly.
It's kind of funny how he wants more.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
Yeah.
So, we both have Doncic on the second team, me as a guard, you as a forward.
Right.
And so you listed off your first guard.
Right, Beal.
Beal. And for your second guard, who do you have?
I got the man representing the Nets on my NBA team, and that's Kyrie Irving.
Okay, and that's another difference between us.
Right. So you don't have either Kyrie or Beal on your second team. Neither are my guards.
In fact, both of your second team guards are both of my third team guards.
Okay, so we're not too far apart.
So they still have honor.
No. So the case for Kyrie it all lies in his efficiency. Now, 27 a game, 6 assists. I didn't realize he had close to 5 rebounds. That's pretty impressive. He's never been a rebounder. That's like a step in the right direction.
Yeah.
I guess that team's centers really kind of suck. So.
Yeah, it's just rebound by committee. They don't have anybody gobbling.
Right. So his efficiency. I mean, he was 50-40-90 this year. He was the only player to be 50-40-90 that qualifies for the league leaders. Sorry, Tony Snell.
God damn it, dude. Hey, Tony Snell, if you qualified just now, you're all NBA in my books. If you're listening.
And 2.4 turnovers per game. That's so low. Very, very, very low. It's not as low as Kawhi, but it's in like the same camp as Chris Paul, which pretty good company when it comes to turnovers.
Mm-hmm.
In that regard.
If you're talking about passing, you want to be in Chris Paul's orbit.
Mm-hmm. And he's not one of those point guards that takes defensive plays off either. He'll try. He'll play team defense. He's not great. I'm not gonna gas Kyrie's defense at all. But
there we go. He's a solid team defender.
It's good enough. Yeah, the word team really does a lot of the heavy lifting there.
It does. Yeah, a lot of heavy lifting. Right. I think Nicholas Claxton might have something to say about how good Kyrie's defense is when everything's just getting funneled in.
So what's your case against Kyrie? Why won't you put him on your second team?
So for me, Kyrie drops to the third team just because the guy who I have on my second team, I just think he's a more deserving candidate.
And who would that be?
So I have second guard on the second team, Chris Paul, starting point guard for your Phoenix Suns.
Interesting.
He was putting up 16 a game this year. That is
sorry, what was that?
That is nothing. That's MVP Steve Nash numbers, 16 a game.
Grody.
16 points, 9 assists, 4 rebounds. The box score number is not too much to look at. That's never been Chris Paul's game. That's never been any of the reason why he's considered at one point the best point guard in the league, through his entire career one of the best point guards in the league. He's just a classic orchestrator. He gets guys in the right spots. He tells people what they're supposed to be doing on certain plays. He gets guys the ball in their shooting pocket right when they're supposed to have it, right when they're going to the motion. He just sees plays that a lot of other guys don't, and he has such a control over the game that's, at this point, nearly unmatched. It's
right.
him.
I don't think there's very many players that control the tempo like Chris Paul.
No, it's
on
him,
both
it's
sides.
LeBron, it's like James Harden, basically on offense. And then defensively, Chris Paul he's only 6 feet tall, but he's a fucking pest.
Man, he is irritating to play against.
He'll get up in your jersey, he'll untie your shoes, he'll whisper your wife's middle name in your ear in the middle of the game. Like, he'll do anything it takes to win.
He'll tell the ref about your untucked jersey to get a technical foul.
Exactly. And so, those raw numbers, not anything really special. He's almost a 50-40-90 guy. He was 49.9 from the field, 39.5 from three, and then 93% from the free throw line. So
close.
And that's one of the real values of Chris Paul, too, which is also a real value of Kyrie, is just how clutch both of those guys are. If you foul them,
they've both been there.
They're getting to the line, they're knocking it down. Chris Paul, he'll take you right to that little elbow spot, quick crossover, fade away, in your mouth every single time. Seems like he's never missed that shot in his life.
Right. So, the way I see it, I have Chris Paul on my third team. So, we're again, not too far off. Flip-flops. Kyrie and Chris Paul, or Beal or Chris Paul, however you want to slice it. So, the way I see it, without Chris Paul, the Suns, they were probably still a playoff team this year. Like, let's be real. They'd be a mid to low seed.
Potentially. I mean, this is their first year making the playoffs, and
right, but they finished the. I can't get their bubble performance out of my head. 8-0 in the bubble.
bingo.
Came into the season with a ton of momentum. New head coach, new on-court coach.
8-0 in the bubble with no Kelly Oubre, and then decided to trade him after the bubble.
Yeah, I mean, the fit was there, man.
Pretty interesting right there. And Oubre is having a good season for them.
Bridges and Cam Johnson have just been the wings that they've needed. They play hard defense. Not to say Kelly Oubre doesn't play hard defense, but the two wings that they do have also hard defense at much better contracts.
Both shooters.
Knock down the threes that they're supposed to. They got Ayton down there playing above average defense and getting buckets when he needs to on smaller centers. But as I was saying, they came into the season with a lot of momentum. But Chris Paul, he's really vaulted them up to be this 51 team that they are. And 51 wins in a 72-game season, that's above a 70% win percentage.
It's pretty nasty.
Yeah, and they put themselves into some pretty elite company with that record of theirs. The NBA champions, the Raptors in 2018 and 19, they had a 70.7% win percentage. And the year before that, the Warriors, also a 70.7 win percentage.
Mm-hmm. Something's adding up.
And the Suns, 70.8. And that's, I think, in large part because of Chris Paul and the impact he's had. He takes a mid to low tier playoff team and makes them into a championship contender.
And he will maximize every bit of potential out of any single team that he's on, which, regardless of the raw stats that he puts up, he just has such an impact, whether it's in the locker room, on the court, just making sure other guys know what they're doing, making sure everybody's ready to play. And I mean, he's just consistent. He always gets it done.
Right. One thing I do want to say, though, is all this MVP talk surrounding him seems like a little much. Like, people are, of course, taking it a little bit too far.
I agree with that big time. Which, of course, people are going to run with it just because the Suns went from not being in the playoffs to now being the second best team in the West. But, I mean, there's a lot of factors that go into that. And when there's a talent pool like this, with Chris Paul's numbers, you can't be MVP at that point.
Yeah. Imagine giving the Suns point guard who's averaging 16 points per game the MVP.
Imagine.
That'd be fucking weird.
Yeah, that'd be strange. God, I wonder if that's anything like that's ever happened before.
No.
League.
The voters would never be that dumb.
When there's more deserving candidates. God, I wonder. It's really, really strange. It feels like there's something. But no, Chris Paul must be the first one ever.
Yeah, true. So, the MVP talks, they need to settle down a bit, but second to third team, I think that's fair. That's a fair spot for him.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that. He's comfortably on my second team. I have no qualms. If you wanna have him second team, you wanna drop him down. I don't think he could be the first team guard though.
Right. So I haven't mentioned Kawhi Leonard on my list yet. And that's because he's my other second team forward. I mean, you've already sung his praises, putting him on your first team. I can't see him being any lower than second.
Nobody wants me to sing again either. So.
Yeah, we don't want to hear that. So I've him as my second team forward, along with Luka Doncic. Who do you have as your forwards on your second team?
We have two different. So we have an entirely different second team if you're just talking guards and forwards and center slots.
Yeah. Luka's the only one who's on both of our teams, and he's at different positions.
Mm-hmm. So my two forwards are... Let me get the one out of the way first. I'm not going to talk too much about it. Jimmy Butler. We know how good Jimmy Butler is. Went to the finals last year. Actually a very solid Heat team. Like, they play very, very well as a team. They're always well coached with Eric Spoelstra, but Jimmy was their number one guy by far. Continued it this season. He was out for a little while with injuries, played 52 games, but averaged 21, 7, and 7.
Right. So he played just about as much as Kawhi this season.
About as much as Kawhi. 1 game more than Embiid. 21, 7, and 7. He's got a case. I mean, he has a case to be as high as first team with as good as he was. For some people, I don't personally see it. I mean, with that amount of games played and the fact that he shoots like fucking 20% from the 3-point line.
Yeah, man, he's just not reliable enough of a scorer for me to be on the first team. Or I guess even on the second team, because I don't have him on my second team. He's down on my third, though. I couldn't leave him off. He's been amazing.
Can't leave him off. He's never been that big of a scorer. 21 points per game is not that much, but he impacts in the kind of the same way that Chris Paul impacts the game. Jimmy Butler kind of hits it in all facets. The fact that he's up to like 7 assists a game as a playmaker for him, his development, that's pretty unbelievable because coming into the league, he was so raw, and I don't think he was any sort of passer or playmaker.
Right. The sort of impact he makes, the numbers don't speak for. He's a motivator. He gets the other guys on his team into his headspace, as long as they're the right guys, a la the Timberwolves. And he just makes a whole team want to win. He's someone who players want to play with and play for and rally around.
Mm-hmm. He's just a fantastic leader.
I watched him do unspeakable things to my Boston Celtics last year in the playoffs. He just made Jason Tatum look like a little baby boy, and he fucking wrapped the diaper right on up. Yeah, he put him in a diaper, stuffed him in a locker, gave him a swirly, took his lunch money, whatever you want to call it.
That's right. Said go join Deuce over there.
On that run to the NBA Finals, he hit every big shot that you knew that Jason Tatum wasn't going to hit. And
a lot of Jason Tatum slander. Neither of us have him on any of our teams.
That's right. Jason Tatum, he's off my team, and he's not even the next guy up, or even the second next guy up. I'm just so disappointed in how the Celtics have performed this year. I mean, it's weird to say because Jaylen Brown has obviously taken a massive step forward. Robert Williams has taken a massive step forward. Jason Tatum statistically is playing as well, if not better, than last year.
Mm-hmm.
And they just can't seem to put it all together. They can't figure out how to win games.
No, they don't play like a team, unfortunately. They have talented guys. They can put up numbers and they can get buckets, but nobody is really there making anybody else better at this point.
And they can't blame it on Kyrie this time.
You can't blame it on Kyrie, so I wonder who the axe is going to fall on for the Celtics this year.
Yeah, it might have to be my guy Kemba. I mean, he's been such a disappointment.
Booty.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to say it, but he's been... I don't think he's healthy. I'll make an excuse for him. He doesn't seem like he's 100%. He hasn't all season.
I'll agree with you there. I don't think he's healthy either. I don't think Kemba would be this bad if he was healthy.
Is he at an age where he can bounce back? I mean, that's yet to be seen.
That's the thing. And as a small point guard, 5'11", 6 feet, it's real tough.
Right. So anyway, of course we had to get sidetracked by the local team, the Boston Celtics, a little bit there.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we're about to talk about the other local team a little bit now.
Another local team, another favorite of this podcast.
If I know you like I know you, I know who this guy's going to be.
All right. Spoiler alert. It is Julius Randle.
Orange Julius, baby.
Orange Julius, starting power forward of your New York Knicks. He's putting up 24 points, 10 rebounds, 6 assists a game this year. The six assists is fucking out of control. I mean, Julius Randle, before this year, was an absolute black hole of a player. Just, if the ball was in his orbit, it was getting sucked in. He was shooting the shot. He was probably putting his head down, barreling into 3 guys, and tossing up a fucking ridiculous shot. And he's talented enough that a lot of those shots would still go in. because he's always been a pretty solid scorer. But this year, 26 years old, his decision making has developed unbelievably. Last year it's his second year with the Knicks. Last year, averaged 3.1 assists per game. This year, he's up to 6. So essentially, doubled his assists.
The only explanation is that he was abducted by aliens and replaced by someone who actually knows how to play basketball well. It's amazing. He shot 41% from 3 with 6 assists. Who would have seen that coming from Julius Randle before this year? It's by far the biggest surprise. He's the front runner for most improved player by a landslide.
Easily.
It's amazing. He's my third team. He's on my third team. Him and Jimmy Butler are my third team forwards. And
let me tell you what Julius Randle shot from 3 last year. 27% on 3.6 attempts per game. This year, 41. 41 on 5.5 attempts. Just letting it fly, splashing on motherfuckers. He's getting the ball at the end of the game. Every single game for the Knicks. He's unleashing step-back elbow jumpers that just, it looks ridiculous. And when you think of Julius Randle doing it, you have the past history of Julius Randle. It's like, what a ridiculous shot. That's not going to go in. This guy, all this guy does is put his head down, barrel, and make layups. Just splashing jumpers from everywhere this year. Playing great defense. Putting the Knicks on his back. Coming from no playoffs since 2013. We go win projections this year set at over under 22.5 or something like that. Well, what does Julius Randle have to say about it? The Knicks are going to win 41 games. Almost doubles those projections. We make the 4 seed. We're in the top half of the playoff picture for the Eastern Conference.
Thanks to a tiebreaker over the Hawks.
Thanks to a tiebreaker over the Hawks, who we've beat in the season series this year, 3-0. Come fucking get us in the playoffs, Hawks. We're not afraid. We got Julius Randle. He's second team All-NBA. That's it.
Yeah, I second all of that except for third team All-NBA.
Well, then I guess you third all of that.
Yeah, sorry, I think that Luka and Kawhi are better.
As players, I can't disagree that Luka and Kawhi are better than Julius Randle.
Right, again, I have Luka as a forward.
As positional designations, I got Luka in at my point guard, and in my heart, if I was staying true to that, Julius Randle would be first team, so I'm actually penalizing him by putting him on the second team. So I'll take the hit for the sanctity of the sport.
All right, so second team center. You must have Joel Embiid. He wasn't on your first team somehow.
Too easy.
So you have to stick him down here you have to stick him down in the on the ground floor here on the second team.
Somehow couldn't roll with the Twin Towers lineup for me, unfortunately. This isn't the 80s Rockets. But yeah, Joel Embiid is my third team center.
Second
no
team
surprise
center.
there. And you had Joel Embiid.
I was gonna say,
Joel Embiid, second team center. No surprise there. Say no surprise. So who is
my second team center is not Rudy Gobert. It is Bam Adebayo. What?
The slander.
Hating on
Gobert.
Very, very blatantly. I will
hating on
Gobert until the day he retires.
It is confirmed. Sean Janis, not a fan of
I
French
didn't say
people.
that.
Dare we say it? All right, Mr. Rudy Gobert, not second team
I loved Tony
All-NBA.
Parker, okay?
Here's my one question. Do you have a French player on your second team?
No. But, Bam, 18.7 points per game, that's nothing to scoff at as a center, playing second star to Jimmy.
Zero scoffing here.
No scoffing to be had. 9 rebounds, respectable, solid. He's a 6'9" center. He's not gonna get to double digits. Maybe someday, but not today.
Weird. You said second to Jimmy, second best player on his own team, and I don't see Jimmy on your second team.
The center competition is a lot less deep than the forward.
Just put him at power forward. It's easy, dude. You can do it with anybody.
Well, he's not better than Luka or Kawhi.
Yeah, you're right.
Anyway, Bam. One thing that I love about this guy's game is his playmaking. 5.4 assists. This man, you feed him the ball in the high post, anything can happen. He can turn around, hit a mid-range jumper. He shot 42.4% on 3 mid-range jumpers per game this season. Very good. That's something that Rudy Gobert doesn't have. That ability to knock down that mid-range jumper from the high post. He can
Agreed. Also the passing.
Right? He can dish it to a cutter. He can dish it to a shooter. He can dish it to pretty much anybody and put him in a good position to score. It's pretty amazing.
He could dish it to the best player on his own team if he wanted to.
And that's something that Rudy Gobert doesn't quite have. Gobert, a whopping 1.3 assists per game this season. He's if he gets the ball, he must be right under the basket and throwing it up there, because that's about the only thing he does on offense is layups and dunks.
That's about it.
Meanwhile, Bam, 57% from the field. He's a center. He's going to shoot a high percentage, but he's doing it with almost 19 points per game. It's pretty great.
And he takes some mid-range shots and everything, so he's taking some tougher looks.
Right, he's stepping out. He's not quite hitting threes, but his offense isn't one-dimensional. And the defensive impact he makes it's not quite at Rudy Gobert's level, but he's an anchor, man. And unlike Gobert, he can defend the perimeter pretty well. He can really move his feet. He's sneaky quick for a big fella. You know what I'm saying?
I would agree. Light on his toes, an agile man.
Yeah. So when I look at the pros and the cons, I just see so many more pros for Bam than I see for Gobert. For Gobert, it's more of he does the things he does well at a very elite level, and that's dunking and blocking shots, and I guess rebounding. Bam, he does a lot of things very well, and I think that's more valuable to a team.
So, I've got the other side of it, and you could just ask the Utah Jazz what they think is more valuable to a team. Would you rather be first in the Western Conference or sixth in the Eastern Conference? Rudy Gobert has been their most consistent player all season, played 71 games out of 72, averaged 30 minutes a game, 14 points, 13 and a half.
Taking a lot of rest there.
Hey, when you just dominate that hard.
Bam played 40 less minutes in 7 less games.
Hey, when you're just that comfortably in the lead, when you've been locking down all game like that, you don't have to try as hard at the end.
All game? All game.
What, 2/3 of the game? So, 14 points, 13 and a half rebounds per game for Rudy Gobert. 67.5% from the field. You touched on it. Most of what he does on offense, it's layups and dunks. But that's the role that he's assigned. The main thing he does on the court is just absolutely locks up on the defensive end. And he's the front runner for Defensive Player of the Year yet again this year. Has he won the award twice so far? It's either once or twice. I'm pretty sure
so. Because I heard that he'd be in some pretty crazy company as a 3-time winner if he were to win this year.
So most likely going to be in that company. He's probably going to win Defensive Player of the Year again. Blocks 2.7 shots a game. Shot blocking can be overrated in some ways if you're a guy who's just chasing blocks, but
right.
Everybody knows Rudy Gobert isn't a guy that's just chasing blocks, since he anchors a very solid defensive team
all the time.
Constantly.
The thing about his defense is that he has a weakness. Like, when I think of the greatest defenders, it's guys who can step out on the perimeter, like Kawhi Leonard, Ben Simmons, guys who can go out there, chase shooters, stay in front of guys, and also protect the rim, like Bam Adebayo. That's something that Gobert doesn't quite bring to the table. You get him on a bad switch, you play small ball against him, stretch the floor out, and his great defense, his great rim protection is really moot. And that's something that the Jazz are going to have to figure out how to deal with in the playoffs.
They certainly will, because they have flamed out in the playoffs in a lot of years past at this point, partly because of the fact that it's tough for Gobert to step out on perimeter guys like Steph Curry when Steph just puts him in the blender and fucking spins him around 3 times and hits a 3 in his eye. But I think at this point, he's gotten at least a little bit better at stepping out, gotten more comfortable, gotten more disciplined in that regard. I mean, his wingspan is like a pterodactyl, so
something like 7'7", I think.
It's crazy. So even if he is a little bit slower, like the recovery, the ability to just be able to reach back, and if a guy's going by him, still be able to contest the shot, still be able to swat it sometimes, even if the guy slips by. I mean, he's really, really good at the things that he's good at, and Bam is definitely more of like a smorgasbord type player. You're getting a little bit of everything with him. You're getting the apps, you're getting the entrees, you're getting a little bit of dessert.
It's a really good smorgasbord, though.
There's some tasty stuff going on. It's like a little wedding rollout right there. You got like the bacon wrapped scallops, you got like a little prime rib. Like he brings a little bit of everything, but it's like Gobert's got 2 main dishes that he's phenomenal at cooking, and he sticks with those, and he doesn't miss with them.
Yeah, well, 2 things that Gobert doesn't do are dish or cook. So,
I mean, I just don't know why you hate French people so much.
Regardless, he's my third. He's my third team center, and I think he's yours too.
He is my second team center.
No, because Embiid is.
Oh, yeah, he's my third team center. You're right.
So we agree that he's the third team center, but.
So we do agree. Yeah, the only thing is that Bam is left off of my ballot.
That's excusable, I guess. I mean...
Which, it's stiff competition. The thing is, I got to reward somebody from the Jazz, and Rudy Gobert has been their most consistent guy all season for the team with the best record in the league.
Right. So instead of moving him up into one of the first 2 teams, I have Gobert down there in the third team. And my way of rewarding the best record in the NBA is I have Donovan Mitchell as my third-team guard. He's rounding out my list as the only guy that I haven't talked about yet, because I have Chris Paul, Butler, Randall, and Gobert on my third team. So Mitchell, he really carries the offense for that team. Everything that Gobert lacks on the offensive end, Mitchell is able to make up for and get them to that level, that best team in the league level that can carry a team in a playoff series. You know, we saw him and Jamal Murray just have a legendary battle last year in the playoffs.
Fucking duel last year in the first round.
It was one of the best 1v1s that I've ever seen on a basketball court. Those 2 guys were just going at each other.
One of the best first round series you'll ever see.
Yeah. Mitchell can give it to you in a myriad of ways. 26.4 points per game, that's a lot. That's the same number as Jason Tatum. Just below Kyrie. That's a lot of fucking points. 5.2 assists. That's solid. That's a good number of assists. That's as many as Paul George, Kawhi Leonard. Slightly less than Giannis, who we know is such a gifted passer. Not a great rebounder. I'm just gonna gloss over that.
For a game for a guard, though, you know, that's fine.
Yeah, that's like Chris Paul.
Yeah, he's not getting nothing.
Right. 2.8 turnovers a game. Solid. That's a low number. We like that. We like to see that.
Mm-hmm.
It's less than Dame. What really hurts his case, though, are his shooting splits. Under 44% from the field. Under 39% from 3. I mean, 38.6, that's a good 3-point percentage. I'll take that any day of the week. But it's that field goal percentage that really hurts his case.
And on the attempts that he takes, almost 9 attempts per game from 3.
Right. I mean, I'll take that. That's a lot. That's good 3-point shooting. But
yeah,
I mean, I guess he's just taking a lot of bad twos because, I mean, 43.8%. That's the lowest field goal percentage on my ballot by over 1 percentage point. That's pretty bad. But he's relied on to shoulder a lot of the offensive burden on that Jazz team. Like he gets a little bit of help from guys like Conley and Clarkson. Joe Ingles. He can make some plays here and there, but he's got to make up for the enormous minus that Gobert is on the offensive end.
All right, this guy shoots 67% from the field and averages almost 15 a game. That's not a minus.
You don't have to guard him if he's not right under the basket.
But you have to guard him under the basket. You got to keep somebody there, or else he's yamming everything in sight. A lob threat, still a huge threat.
Any NBA player is scoring right under the basket if they're left open.
Not everybody.
If anything, Mitchell's ability to make plays and score in all these different ways gets Gobert these open dives to the rim. If it wasn't for like a player like Mitchell to unlock the game for Gobert, he would be the zero on the offensive end that I'm trying to make him out to be.
I mean, if there wasn't for such a savvy screener like Gobert,
oh my God,
it'd be a lot tougher for Donovan Mitchell to be getting these open looks. That he's still shooting 43% from the field.
We're not doing screen assists. That's not happening.
No chance. But Mans does set some good screens.
He sets some screens.
He sets some good screens. He sets my kind of screens, dude. Stick the elbows out, try and catch somebody on the way by.
Yeah, dude.
A little cheap shot every now and then.
Yeah, dude. If I see your balls out, I'm hitting them. I swear to God. So, if you don't have Mitchell, who do you have?
Which I do not.
Right.
So, your second team guards were Kyrie and Bradley Beal.
Yep.
Those are my third team guards.
Right.
Already talked about them. We can move on. I have Gobert as my third team center. Already talked about him. We can move on. My two forwards, I have Paul George and Zion Williamson.
The two guys I snubbed. I felt really bad about snubbing both of them.
Mm-hmm.
I had to have two guys from the Jazz, and I had to have their offense and I had to have their defense.
So
make the case for Zion for me. I want to hear it. Make the case for a guy who's not even in the play-in tournament. Go.
For Zion, not even in the play-in tournament, I would say the reason he's not in the play-in tournament, I don't want to really blame it on the team, but
there's a lot of talent on that team. Why didn't they win games?
Fairly constricted on that team. Decent amount of talent. It's him and Brandon Ingram.
Brandon Ingram was an all-star last year.
Brandon Ingram's unbelievable. I love Brandon Ingram. I think he's an all-star. He's a fantastic player. Zion's a fantastic player. The fit around them, they had Steven Adams starting at center, guy who can't shoot the ball past 2 feet. Yeah, like, it's insane. They had Eric Bledsoe, who the Bucks had been trying to get rid of for years, and finally swindled the fucking Pelicans into taking him. It's
crazy how bad they swindled them. It's like the king with the invisible clothes. You know what I'm talking about? That old story.
Yeah. It's crazy. They just said, yeah, here you go, Pelicans. Take Bledsoe and his big bag of bricks. Fucking have a blast with him, build a house, do something. Just don't put him on a basketball court. Instead, they put him as their starting point guard, along with Lonzo Ball, who had a better shooting year this year, has never been known as a three-point shooter.
I think we can agree that this was Lonzo's best season to date.
Best season for sure.
I don't understand how Lonzo can take such a massive step. Ingram can basically turn in the same close to the same performance as his All-Star campaign, and Zion can just be this All-NBA third-team player. And the Pelicans,
this absolutely unreal, transcendent talent.
And the Pelicans finish 31-41. Like, how does that happen?
So, Pelicans 31-41, playing in the Western Conference. Wizards 34-38. Pelicans got 3 less wins than the Wizards in a tougher conference. They lost an unbelievable amount of close games this year, which I watched one of the close games that was against the Knicks, where they gave up just a wide open 3 to Reggie Bullock, who's a good 3-point shooter, right at the end of the game. Seems like they had little to no game planning with Stan Van Gundy. Seems like maybe they were just revolting against the coach and not listening to him at some different points too, which that could be the case, but the roster construction is pretty poor. Lonzo did have his best year. I mean, still not even as good as his brother, who's a rookie. Ingram had another all-star caliber season. Zion had all-star, all-NBA caliber season. But
all-star.
You can just ask the Celtics how that works when you have two guys having that great of a season and yet still really don't win shit.
It seems pretty Boston-esque.
Fairly Boston-esque, just in a tougher conference.
But they managed to finish 500.
But Zion's numbers, pretty unassailable. 27 points a game, 7 rebounds a game, 3.7 assists, only 2.7 turnovers, which, I mean, 3.7 assists, not a lot.
Yeah, especially for as much as he's been running the show around the perimeter out there. Like, he's been the ball handler on a lot of pick and rolls.
Yeah, but, I mean, this is his second year. He played 24 games last year. Really still getting his feet under him and averaged 27 a game on 61% shooting.
Yeah, he's basically played one NBA season, 85 games.
Yeah, it's just, it took them a while to fully unlock him. They probably got to like near halfway through the season before they started the whole kind of point perimeter Zion thing. If he had been just playing that position the whole season long, I mean, he probably would have been right around 30 a game. He's absolutely unstoppable when he gets to the basket. Like, every single player in the league bounces off of him. If I was there under the basket, I would be fucking pancaked and in the hospital in critical condition if I tried to take a charge or block Zion. He's absolutely unstoppable, and the team success, or lack of team success, does definitely hurt him. But from this season, I will remember how unbelievably unstoppable Zion was, and having the 27 points a game, such high efficiency to match up with it, it's enough for me to give it to him and reward him.
Right, he was amazing, and I do feel bad leaving him off my team. But, yeah, he's just kind of he's not quite there on the defensive end. Like, I understand he's playing to try not to get hurt. You know, he's relied so much on the offensive end. But at some point, you have to be able to turn it on. When you're that much of a freak of an athlete and block some shots, get more rebounds, put your body on somebody, you know? The unlocked potential on the defensive end really does it for me. Mm-hmm. Like, I'd be able to make space for him if he was playing both ways. Or if the team... I guess it's more that the team sucked.
I would agree with that. I don't have
any players who aren't on at least a play-in team on my ballot.
Zion's the only one that I have. It's just he made such an impression on me this entire season, which the amount of Pelicans games that I watched, that I would see Zion in the game absolutely bulldozing every single person that got in his way and scoring, and then as soon as he's out of the game, the team is just getting trounced and just falling apart every single second. Like, he made enough of an impression on me where I can ignore the team success a little bit. I mean, his box plus minus, which still isn't, I mean, that's not like a super reliable stat or anything like that, but he was plus 5.5, so.
That's good considering how bad the team was.
Considering team's not even 500, not even playing, the fact that they're 5 points per game with him in the game. Pretty solid.
All right, so make the case for Paul George, the other guy I left off.
And Paul George, it was him and Zion were definitely the last two on my ballot. Mm-hmm. It's tough to leave some other guys off who we'll talk about afterwards, but Paul George had yet again really solid regular season. We'll see what he can do in the playoffs, but he was 23 a game, 6 rebounds, 5.2 assists, which surprised me. That's a career high for him by a full assist. His career high before that was 4.1. Right. So him and Kawhi both really stepping up their playmaking this year.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the team's lack of a reliable point guard really necessity breeds invention, and they had to invent some creative ways to make plays.
Yeah, and not all guys can step up to the plate like that. He did it this year, 5.2 assists per game. He was still his really solid defending self. Him and Kawhi, two of the best wing defenders in the game. Paul George was 41% from 3 on 7.7 attempts per game, so just splashing threes down. And the Clippers, they were top 4 team in the West this year, amidst, even with Paul George playing 54 games, Kawhi only playing 52 games. They still ended up being the number 4 team in the West just by how good those two guys were in every single game that they played.
Right. All right, so let's get to the snubs a little bit here.
Snub season.
The guys that both of us happen to snub. We've already talked about one of them, and that's Jason Tatum.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and I don't feel like that's a big snub, truthfully.
No, it's just... It's disappointing, man. He's got so much potential. He should be so good. He is so good, but he just can't win the big games, man. He can't... In close games, you can't count on him down the stretch like you can count on some of these other guys to get you buckets. It's like the offense just stagnates around him, and it seems like Brad Stevens just says, hey, Jason, go do your thing, and Jason's like, I don't really have a thing, and bricks a sidestep three-pointer almost every single time.
Tatum's thing is just to do a sidestep or step-back three-pointer, and then it's either that goes in and he looks like the man and they win the game, or most often... Like, that's just a brick, and...
It's that goofy move that LeBron gets. LeBron gets clowned for doing that move all the time on Twitter. Just looking him up and down, taking a sidestep and shooting a three. I mean, seems to work for LeBron. Tatum, debatably a better shooter, but just can't figure it out. He's got to find other ways to get it done, to win the team games. If he's going to be the guy, he's got to figure out how to win games. You know?
Mm-hmm. He's got to figure out how to make other guys better, too.
Right.
You can't just be this nasty scorer, which we know he's a nasty scorer. He can get buckets from anywhere. He does hit those sidestep threes, but he's not a guy he's not leading the team. He's not like the Jimmy Butler, everybody get on my level. We're in this together. Like Jason Tatum is, I'm going to go out and get buckets. If we win or we lose, I'm still going to get buckets. That's what it seems like at this point.
Right. Another snub we should mention is Zach LaVine. He's just this supernova scorer, 27 a game. He's always been, or he has been for the last 2 years at least. But this year, he's doing it efficiently. He's taking all the criticism from the basketball nerds, and he's saying, oh yeah, well watch this. And he went out there, he shot 50%, 41% from 3. He'd be 50, 40, 90 if he was a little bit better of a three-point shooter. I mean, a free throw shooter. Sorry.
Yep.
And he kicked up the playmaking a notch. 5 assists. I mean, he's a guard. It could be better, but he's a scorer.
Yeah, if you're averaging 5 assists and you're averaging 27 a game, like 5 assists awesome. Is plenty.
Yeah, I mean, he's Diet Bradley Beal this season. Seems like better three-point shooter. But the Bulls are just a dumpster fire, man. I mean, they acquired Vucevic at the deadline to try to make this playing game push, and they just come up short. Came up 2 games behind the Hornets in the standings.
Yeah, that's crusty. When the Hornets were missing LaMelo for how long? Gordon Hayward for how long? Mm-hmm. And is their starting center still Cody Zeller?
Yeah, but they play P.J. Washington at the center a lot.
Christ.
Yeah. But maybe next year, LaVine. Maybe if can lead your team to the playoffs, we'll see.
I hope so. As a fellow Zach, I hate to do it to him, but unfortunately, he doesn't make the cut this year.
How do you feel about Russell Westbrook?
Probably like most people, mixed feelings about Russell Westbrook. You gotta love how hard he plays. You also... If you're a fucking numbers guy, which I'd love to just look into these box scores and just see who's putting up crazy numbers, Russell Westbrook always does it to you, and he's has games like 27, 20 assists, and like 16 rebounds or something. It's fun to see. Unfortunately, he really started to come on too late in the season to really make an All-NBA bid.
He was a must-have in DraftKings the last 2 months. It was insane, the things he was doing in the box score, the numbers he was putting up day in, day out, consistently.
Consistently, fantasy basketball, Russell Westbrook is the fucking king. But, I mean...
Well, this is real life.
This is real life. He's 43% from the field. He's 31 from three. As a point guard, he's 65% from the free throw line, which is really, really crusty. Leads the league in turnovers. He constantly takes reckless shots.
And you have to think, if that style of play was really contributing to winning basketball, that having him and Bradley Beal with 31 points per game, that would have the Wizards at better than 8th in the East.
You would think that would get it done.
He's proved time and time again that even if he's putting up these numbers, it doesn't exactly translate to winning basketball games.
Exactly. Which is unfortunate.
And that's why I don't feel bad about leaving him off my All-NBA ballot.
Yeah, and Russell Westbrook is an all-time amazing player, but he's not making the All-NBA this season.
That's right. Anyone else that you think was snubbed that we deserve to talk about?
Yeah, I just think we should give Devin Booker a little shout-out. He's 25, 4-4 this year. He put up pretty solid percentages. His three-point percentage wasn't where you'd expect it to be for a guy that, like, every time the ball comes out of his hands, he looks like he's a fucking knockdown shooter, and it looks like it's going to be drippy. He just has a pure stroke. He's a scorer. He gets it done from everywhere. At this point, he might be the best player on the Suns. Chris Paul has more of an impact and really gets the job done, but Booker, he gets buckets. He competes on the defensive end. He's a competitor, and he went from having the ball in his hands pretty much all the time out of necessity for the Suns to having to transition over and play off ball and kind of take a big sacrifice and, just touches and usage. And he handled that tremendously with helping them get to the number 2 seed in the West. So I think he's right on the edge, but he just doesn't make it this year, unfortunately for him.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, if he added something else to his game other than scoring, maybe. Yeah. Or if he just became one of the premier scorers in the league. Like, he's obviously an elite scorer, but he's not quite in that Steph Curry, Dame Lillard, Bradley Beal.
No.
Kyrie Irving.
He'd have to up his efficiency. That's the real thing for him. If you're just going to be scoring like that, you have to be putting up like Kyrie 50, 40, 90.
And I think one more guy that deserves to be mentioned is Trae Young. I mean,
and that's you and you alone, brother.
Hey, the Hawks seemingly out of nowhere came up with a 41-31 record. Trae Young played most of the season,
0-3 against
63
the Knicks.
Games. Yeah, 0-3 against the Knicks, I guess. And 25 points. 9.4 assists, second most assists in the league. And the rest of this, the rest of the box score doesn't look great for him though. 4 turnovers, third worst in the league. We mentioned that a bit earlier. 43.8% from the field. That's not great. 34% from 3. Now, as someone who was crowned the next Steph Curry, it's pretty bad.
Pretty far off.
Yeah. So, very talented playmaker. He can score. He can really score, but he's a massive 0 on defense.
I say eye test shows he's probably the worst defensive player that I've ever seen in any basketball court in my entire life.
He can't guard anybody.
No.
But I think he deserves to be mentioned because of his statistical performance, his team's performance. He's obviously the best player on that team. But other guys have stepped up, like Clint Capella. John Collins has had a pretty nice little season here.
Bogdanovich really got hot when Trae went down and then just kept it going when Trae got back.
That's right. Yeah, they were when Trae went down there for a bit, it looked bad for the Hawks. It looked like they could have fallen down into the play-in tournament or even out of playoff contention. But Bogdanovich really picked up the slack for them.
Yeah, it was weird. Trae went down and not much happened.
I guess that's
Team
true.
success-wise, not too much happened.
He's pretty far down there on my list of snubs, but
yeah. But 25-9, nothing. Also, nothing to sneeze at.
So I think we need to do a little bit of explaining about how we left the two Jameses off our ballot. That's LeBron James and James Harden.
And it's very, very simple.
They just didn't play enough. You got to play the games. I mean, Harden only 44 games, LeBron 45. They both averaged around 25 points per game. Harden with a staggering 11 assists.
Unreal.
Not sure if he'll qualify as a league leader, but that would be good for second in the league. And if he doesn't qualify, then I'm right about Trey being second in the league. 8.5 rebounds. Awesome. Great numbers. I mean, 25, 11, and 8.5. That's fucking remarkable from James Harden. Only 4 turnovers. Kind of a lot, but when you're getting 11 assists, I guess you can get away with it. LeBron. What is there to say about LeBron James?
There's nothing else to say. You just say LeBron James, everybody knows what's going on. It's LeBron James.
He was having a special year. He was having a really special season up until he got hurt on both ends of the floor. 25 a game. 25, 8, and 8. It's LeBron. You're going to get 25, 8, and 8.
In his sleep.
Like clockwork. Yep, shot over 50% from the field. Shot 36.5% from 3. That's solid. Solid for LeBron, You just didn't play enough. You gotta... If you're going to have this impact on the game, you have to be on the floor to actually make that impact.
It's as simple as that.
And it's not their fault they got injured, but it's also not my fault.
Exactly. And we can't be expected to put them on.
Right. And that other guys like AD and KD, they played even less. They're not even worth it.
I was going to say, if KD, Harden, and LeBron had all played the requisite number of games, those guys would all be, they'd probably be all NBA first team. But they didn't play the game, so...
Right, AD played exactly half of the games. KD played even less. It's sad to leave these guys off the All-NBA teams. I mean, these are 4 guys who are going to be thinking about their legacies. Mm-hmm. But just didn't do it this year. That's okay.
We're not simps, dude. We make the tough calls.
I mean, those 4 players are on the 2 teams that are Vegas favorites to win the championship this year, so... They can improve their legacies in other ways.
Yeah. Odds are they're coming away with something.
Right. All right, so those are all NBA teams. To recap, I had Steph, Dame, Giannis, Embiid, and Jokic on my first team. Kyrie, Beal, Luka, Kawhi, and Bam on my second. And then Chris Paul, Donovan Mitchell, Jimmy Butler, Julius Randle, and Rudy Gobert on my third. Now, Zach, give listeners a rundown of yours.
Now for the correct All-NBA teams. I had Steph, Dame, Giannis, Kawhi, Jokic, first team. Second team, Luka, Chris Paul, Jimmy Buckets, New York's heart and soul, Julius Randle, and Joel Embiid. And third team, Kyrie, Bradley Beal, Paul George, Zion Williamson, and Rudy Gobert.
Not bad. We had... quite a bit of parity, but also some fundamental disagreements.
Yeah, a lot of differences to keep it interesting.
Right. All in all, we had 13 of 15 players the same. The 2 players that were different were you had Paul George and Zion on yours, and I had Mitchell and Bam on mine, and the positional flexibility allowed for that.
Mm-hmm. So, NBA, this is your fault.
That's right. So, we're going to take a short break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about the play-in tournament. Hi, this is Sean from the Balls Out podcast. If you like what you're listening to and would like to hear your product or service advertised here, please reach out to me at janosballsout@gmail.com. That's spelled JANOS, ballsout@gmail.com. Thank you for listening, and keep on balling out.
All right, and we're back from that short little commercial break. Advertisement courtesy of the lovely one and only Sean Janos.
That's right. Please give us money.
Please feed us.
Give us money. Give us money, and we'll read anything on this podcast. Please.
Literally anything. You can Venmo us $1. And anything you want us to say, we'll do it in place of that.
Absolutely.
So, let's just break down how the actual play-in tournament works this year before we get into the teams that are going to be playing in it. It's different from how last year's went. So, the 7 to 10 seeds this year are going to be in the play-in tournament. The 7 and 8 seed will play each other, and the 9 and 10 seed will play each other. The winner of the 9 and 10 will play the loser of the 7 and 8. So,
right. And the winner of the 7 and 8 gets the 7 seed out, right?
Yep. And then the loser of that matchup of the 7 and 8 would play the winner of the 9-10. Whoever wins that game will get the 8 seed. So
gotcha.
The 9 and 10, essentially the only advantage that you get in the 9-10 matchup is you get home court against the 10th seed if you're the 9.
Gotcha. All right, so let's get to the play-in games.
Back at it. Play-in time.
So we should start with the most interesting one here. And the headliner here is obviously LeBron versus Steph, Lakers and Warriors.
Really? You don't want to talk about Indiana-Charlotte first, huh?
Oh, shit. I forgot. That one's definitely the headliner.
Pretty hype game right there.
Yeah, dude. Sabonis versus fucking Terry Rozier.
Like, dude, there's a chance Gordon Hayward might play? Come on.
Wow.
How exciting.
I don't think white supremacists are ready for that Sabonis-Gordon Hayward matchup.
Oh, I think they're ready. I think they're so ready.
It's what they've been waiting for since the 50s.
Exactly.
Like, this guy looks a lot like George Mikan out there.
Do you see the fundamentals, guys?
None of that flashy dribbling and dunking.
That's how you properly execute a screen and roll.
Oh, the screen and roll. They gotta get hip to it. They gotta start calling it the yeet and skeet like we do.
Yeah, don't say we. That's you.
I'll gladly own that.
You can have it.
All right. So anyway, Lakers Warriors. When the season began, I don't think anyone saw this coming as a play-in matchup. When we heard that the play-in tournament was going to be in this format, we all thought Lakers were going to run away with another top seed, and the Warriors with Klay Thompson were going to be somewhere up there in the mix as well. But but here we are.
Yeah, unfortunately for the Warriors, season didn't even tip off yet. Klay Thompson goes down with yet another season-ending injury. So that's two seasons in the middle of the prime of his career taken away from him. Quite unfortunate. R.I.P. Klay Thompson. I feel for you. I hope you're smoking the dankest kush out there in San Fran. Like, I assume you are, and chilling with your dog.
Oh, dude, I have to imagine that Steve's his plug. Actually, I live in California. They don't need plugs there.
They got a million plugs. They just walk outside. It's a plug.
So anyway, how do you think these two teams match up now that the Lakers are fully healthy and we can see what Steph can do with this Warriors team?
So, a fully healthy Lakers, I mean, they should absolutely trample the Warriors here. They should just get out the bulldozer and just run right over them. The Warriors, they're not good as a team, truthfully. They have Steph. They have
I laugh,
Draymond.
but I agree.
Yeah, right? Like, they have Steph, they have Draymond. Two keys to the... I mean, you know, they're two of the biggest ingredients of the championship pie that they had. Besides that, they're running out there. They got Kelly Oubre. They have...
Jordan Poole.
They have Jordan Poole. They have Kevon Looney. Like...
Juan Toscano Anderson. It's a hodgepodge of just ragtag. Insert word for messy underdogs here. You know.
Yeah, exactly.
Led by a generational talent.
It's the Steph show. It's Draymond. He's the second fiddle. He gets it going, but in a one-off game like the play-in tournament, March Madness style, all you got to do is get hot for one game.
You know what they should really try this thing I saw on Reddit where they have 4 Warriors all like hold hands and just create a barrier around Steph and just have them like just chuck like 35-footers.
Dude, I always wondered why teams had never tried that before, is just to have the one guy have the ball and then just have 4 guys like literally just build a wall of screens for then like somebody to try and get around it. I don't think that's illegal for just like 4 guys to line up like setting a pick.
But you know what I think the Lakers could do to counter that? Is I think LeBron is strong enough to pick Anthony Davis up and throw him into the air. And Davis is so long. And if he also gets like a jump as LeBron's lifting him, he can really get up there and maybe block some of those uncontested heaves from Steph.
I just feel like Anthony Davis would absolutely love LeBron picking him up like underneath by his armpits like that and tossing him up and doing like a little Lion King thing with him. It seems like Anthony Davis is just in full on simp for LeBron mode at this point. So
I think that's in his clutch contract actually, that LeBron has to embrace him and throw him wherever he wants.
4 times a year, he just has to fucking Lion King Simba him. Just give him a little extra encouragement, a little extra pat on the butt. But, right. Yeah, I mean, when it comes to actually how good these teams are, the Lakers really should be light years ahead of the Warriors. Personally, right. I'm pulling for the Warriors to just make the upset. I'm hoping the Lakers lose, and then I'm hoping they lose in the second play-in game and just completely miss the playoffs. I think that'd be fucking hilarious and amazing, and we would never hear the end of how stupid the play-in is from LeBron after that. When
that's exactly correct.
You're one of the best teams, like, you could just win one of these games anyway.
I do have to admit...
Yeah, I'm assuming they will.
Right. I do have to admit that I am a massive LeBron James simp, and I really care about his legacy, and I would love to see him stack up some more championships at this stage in his career. I mean, he's 36, and in my opinion, is still the best player in the world, especially in the playoffs. You know, playoff LeBron is just a completely different animal.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you. I mean, there's no one that's taken the crown from LeBron. If KD didn't get injured 2 years ago, I think he was the one who was going for it. At this point, there's nobody. I mean, KD can do it this year. If he steps up in the playoffs and brings the Nets to the championship as their best player, then, you know, he could take that crown if he stays healthy. But right now, it's still LeBron. You're picking LeBron in a one game against basically, I mean, probably anybody. You're picking LeBron in most series against anybody. It's tough to bet against them.
And it seems like LeBron and AD are really going to have their way with this Warriors team. Like... Yeah. Draymond is still a very effective defender. He's had a very good season defensively. I think he's in the Defensive Player of the Year conversation. He's probably going to be on a lot of all-defensive teams, you know. He might be a first-team candidate. If not, I think he's almost a lock for the second team. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, that's their only chance, is if Draymond can really take one of LeBron or AD out of the game, which seems unlikely. And Steph can just go off for like 50. But again, the Warriors, they've got their work cut out for them for sure.
They're bad. Simple as that.
Yeah, they're bad.
They got Steph, they got Draymond. Otherwise, it's just garbage.
All right, let's move on to the other 7-8 matchup over in the Eastern Conference, and that is the Celtics and the Wizards. Now, I have zero confidence that the Celtics are going to defend home court and beat this, quite frankly, bad Wizards team aside from their 2-star players.
Yeah, we're on the same page. I mean, the Wizards are essentially in the same position as the Warriors. They got the 2 guys. The rest of the team is dog shit.
Right, but the Celtics are, I think aside from Tatum, they're pretty bad. Like, they're going to need a lot from Kemba. They're going to need Kemba to be better than he's been all year. Mm-hmm. Missing Jaylen Brown is so devastating.
That hurts so bad.
Right. Marcus Smart and Robert Williams, and
you got Evan Fournier now too.
Yeah, well, everyone's gonna have to contribute. Tatum's gonna need to have a Tatum game where he has 30 or 40, and they're gonna need to ask a lot from these role players that generally have not produced this year. Mm-hmm. If I have to watch Semi Ojeleye take another corner 3, I'm gonna gouge my eyes out. I hate watching that man on a basketball court. And Grant Williams is so fucking soft. He's 10 ply.
Oh, he is so fucking tiny, dude. It's unbelievable.
And, I mean, Naismith's come on recently. Pritchard was a nice story at the beginning of the year, and he's kind of
middled now, but he's still an important role player on this team. But I don't see this Celtics team having... I mean, they only have to win one game. They beat the Wizards, they're in.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's the benefit of being the 7 here. But I don't think they'll beat the Wizards. And then they'll have to play one of the Pacers or the Hornets.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's a game I think they can handle. You know, Brogdon's been missing time for the Pacers. I'm not sure if he'll be healthy for that game. That's a big if.
Yep.
Sabonis has been very impressive this year.
Yep.
However.
Yet again.
Mm-hmm. And I'm pretty interested to see how that Pacers-Hornets game goes, because I guess I give the Pacers a slight edge. But that group of Hornets guards can just really get hot at any given time. You know, LaMelo's out there running the show. Rozier can get hot at a moment's notice. Devontae Graham, Malik Monk off the bench. They've been steady contributors. They've been spark plugs. Miles Bridges has been all over highlight tapes all year.
Mm-hmm.
He's had probably 3 of the best 5 dunks this season, it seems like. He's been amazing.
Also, I mean, just statistically, too, Miles Bridges is having a really good year.
Right. The Hornets have had this young talent for a little while now, you know. P.J. Washington showed a lot of promise last year. Miles Bridges, he's always had the talent. Devontae Graham had a nice little season last year. And it just seems like with LaMelo there, you know, they finally have a floor general who can really help everything come together. He's really the grease in these wheels, you know?
Yeah. That's the thing, unlike the Celtics, who have no guy that really makes anybody better, LaMelo, even as a rookie, makes everybody better. He's constantly making the extra play. He's constantly making the right pass. He's just getting guys in just perfect spots to score, and he's super, super unselfish. So
it's amazing how he controls the pace at his age. It blows my mind watching.
It's
maybe
wild.
Playing professional ball before the NBA, maybe there's something there, you know?
Maybe there's something there. Maybe Luka Doncic. Man, that guy's playing pros, and look how he controls it.
That's exactly right. I mean, you have to really think outside of the box of going the college route now. Mm-hmm. And I think that's really good for the game, you know?
I think so, too. I mean, just having more options for these kids is way better. So, Pacers-Hornets. Pacers are the 9 seed. Hornets are the 10 seed. Hornets have dealt with a lot of injuries this year. They got LaMelo back. I don't know what's the deal with Gordon Hayward, but the Pacers, they just fucking bore me to tears. And
they've also dealt with their fair share of injuries this year. You know, Brogdon's been down recently. Miles Turner's been out for a while.
I think Sabonis was in and out at one point.
Right. What an impressive season from Sabonis, though.
Yeah, he's the man. He's been fucking
amazing.
Phenomenal.
He can really stuff the box score, you know? And it seems like whenever he does have one of these great games that it translates in the win-loss column.
Yeah. He definitely doesn't seem like an empty stats guy. He's a guy that really just contributes to winning in all sorts of ways. He's a great passer. He's a great scorer. He's a great
He's kind of Jokic light. At the risk of comparing the two big white guys. He seems like a Jokic light, you know. He can step out, hit some shots. He can create for himself. He can create for others. Just all around a very impressive player.
Yeah. Sabonis, he's the man. But I'll take the Hornets in that matchup. And in the 7 and 8 in the East, I'm taking the Wizards. I don't have any faith in the Celtics. I really don't have much faith in the Pacers with all the injuries that they've dealt with. I don't think they'll have Miles Turner at that point, which hurts them a lot. So
in the theoretical next round, who wins the Celtics Hornets game to get that 8 seed?
Oh, I got Hornets. I have zero faith in the Celtics whatsoever. Without Jaylen Brown, I just think they're really, really done for.
I almost want to agree with you, but I think, you know, the Celtics will have the best player in the series. That's a big plus.
Yep.
And I think Brad Stevens can game plan around slowing down a rookie. You know, we forget about how good of a coach he is because of how bad the Celtics are this year, you know. But I think I'm not doubting Brad, not yet.
You're forgetting one major aspect to that game.
What's that?
Terry Rozier revenge game.
Oh,
he is gonna fucking knock the Celtics right out of it and get the Hornets into the playoffs. You know Terry's going for at least 40 against the Celtics.
See, it's well within my character to lean way too far into the narrative, so I'm gonna have to flip here. You convinced me.
Yeah, baby.
There's no way a Terry Rozier revenge tour doesn't end in him absolutely eviscerating the Celtics and making that whole front office look like a bunch of dum-dums.
And who the fuck's going to guard him? Is Kemba going to guard him?
Hey, don't start.
Yeah. I'm just saying. If Kemba's guarding him, Jesus, he might be putting up 40 in the first quarter.
I can see Marcus saying, I want Terry, though, you know?
Oh, that's true. Marcus Smart will probably take that assignment. But, I mean,
He'll take it personally.
Brad Stevens might say, like, hey, Marcus, you just have to guard LaMelo because we need you guarding LaMelo.
I'm sure you can convince Marcus Smart to follow his will. That seems easy.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't realize Brad Stevens was a fucking soothsayer.
So you have the lower seeds in both matchups. You have the Wizards and the Hornets coming away with those 7 and 8 seeds.
Yep, I got lower seeds all the way for this one.
That's interesting. And now I care to agree. I mean, I'm taking the Wizards in that first round for sure. I think I would love to see Beal in a meaningful playoff game, which we've never really gotten a taste of. We got a little bit of a taste back when John Wall went nuts in that Celtics series, you know, where Kelly Olynyk won the Celtics the series.
Oh, that
way
was
back.
Fucking
what was that, like
brutal.
4 years ago, maybe?
That was the battle of the Kellys, too. That was when Kelly Oubre and Kelly Olynyk went
That's
at
right.
it.
Yeah. So that was the last time we saw Beal in a meaningful playoff game. So it's going to be nice to see new team leader Beal and how he fares on the big stage.
Yeah, and especially against the Sixers in the first round. That would be well, no, because if they do win that first game, they'll be the 7th seed, so then they'll end up playing the Nets, which... less exciting. I would rather see the Wizards against the Sixers in the first round.
That would be cool. You know, see what that Westbrook-Ben Simmons matchup brings us.
Yeah, that would be exciting. That's a whole lot of shattered backboards.
Yeah, that's some of the... At least Ben Simmons is smart enough not to take the shots that Westbrook takes.
That's true. Westbrook's just gunslinging. And Westbrook will tell Simmons, hey, dude, I'm not a pussy. I'll shoot this shot. And it'll
Two
be
schools
awesome.
of thought there.
It'll be awesome to see.
Right. All right, let's move back over to the Western Conference to the one matchup that I really don't want to talk about at all, and that's Grizzlies Spurs.
I don't know why you don't want to talk about this, dude.
Oh, it's disgusting. The Spurs shouldn't even be in this conversation at all.
All right,
I mean,
let's cool it with the Spurs slander.
They finished 5 games worse than the Grizzlies. They don't really... I don't think they have
pretty
a claim.
crusty.
This is kind of one of the downsides to the play-in tournament. I'm a fan of it.
True.
I'm just going to be on the record. I'm a fan of it. I think all basketball fans should really enjoy this. You know, it makes for more meaningful basketball. We haven't heard a peep about tanking. You know, people aren't talking about tanking at the end of the season. They're talking about these play-in matchups.
Exactly.
But I can see from a player's perspective how, you know, someone who's in that 7-8 seed can get frustrated. You know, they just played 72 games to jockey for this position, and now it's all laid out on the line over the course of 2 games.
Hey, you know what? If you got your fucking balls out and you're a competitor, you're not complaining. You're just going to go out and you're going to win that game. It's as simple as that.
That's absolutely right. And you know who you haven't heard a peep about? A peep from about the play-in tournament? Is Steph Curry.
Steph Curry.
Bradley Beal.
Bradley Beal. Not afraid.
No, they're not afraid. And I'm really interested to see how these guys perform. But anyway, Grizzlies Spurs. Who do you got?
Grizzlies Spurs. It sucks because not just because of how bad this game should be. I mean, the Grizzlies, they really should win this game. They're kind of fully healthy at the right time now. They've been decimated by injuries the whole year, but Jaren Jackson Jr. has been back for a couple weeks now, I'm pretty sure.
It seems like they've played worse with him back. It's kind of weird to see.
It's tough. I mean, the feel-out period when you're coming back from injuries is tough no matter what.
Right. This team's been playing a certain style for the whole season, and now all of a sudden they're throwing a very important piece back into the lineup, and they're trying to figure out how to adjust, how to play.
Exactly. He's your second best player. He's a guy that needs touches. He's a guy that needs shots. You want to get him in a rhythm, so you're probably throwing yourself out of your normal offense a little bit to try and accommodate him. But really, the Grizzlies should win this game. I love the Spurs just because I love DeMar DeRozan. I think DeMar DeRozan is the man, and he's a guy that has been kind of slept on since going to the Spurs.
Put him on your All-NBA team then. Put him on your All-NBA team.
I want to. I really, really, really wanted to. Instead, I'll just put him fourth on my MVP ballot. DeRozan this year, though. Dude, DeRozan this year, 21, 4 rebounds, and 7 assists a game. He's
7 assists? I didn't see that coming.
Nobody realizes how good of a playmaker DeMar DeRozan's become. Last year, he was 5.6 assists per game. The year before, 6.2. This year, he's up just under 7. He's just under 50% from the field. He's a horrible three-point shooter, as he's been his entire career. He's 88% from the free throw line. And every single time that I've seen DeMar DeRozan in a close game at the end, he just pulls up for like some kind of fadeaway mid-range jumper, and it's just wetty.
He's an assassin for mid-range. Yeah.
He fucking drips it. So, I mean, the Grizzlies better hope that they don't get into a close game with the Spurs here, because the Grizzlies have been pretty notorious for just blowing leads at the end of games. They kind of like the Pelicans, they just really can't hang on at the end. They don't have that go-to guy that's going to get it done.
The issue is they run these pick and rolls with Ja and Valanciunas, and teams just sit under these screens. They don't respect Ja as a shooter at all.
No. And that's the thing. Ja doesn't really know how to make him pay yet. And DeMar DeRozan, same thing. Nobody respects him as a shooter. What does he do? He says, all right, I'll just get down to my range, and then I'll just pull up in your face.
That's right. There aren't many players that are better at finding their shot. And that's something that's that veteran mentality, you know?
Yeah. He's just got that know-how. He's been there before. He's been in the playoffs plenty of times. Grizzlies have not.
Sounds like you're trying to talk yourself into the Spurs, man.
I might be talking myself into the Spurs right now. And it's crazy because I was going to pick the Grizzlies to beat the Warriors.
Oh, you're nuts, dude.
But actually, the Grizzlies can't beat the Warriors because...
Because the Warriors can beat the Lakers?
Warriors are going to beat the Lakers.
Yeah, all right.
I got Spurs over Grizzlies, I got Warriors over Lakers, and then I got Lakers over Spurs.
You're fucking high, man.
Not right now, actually.
I mean, we both have the Lakers and Warriors getting in.
I mean, weed is illegal in Florida, so never high, actually.
No, not even once.
Yeah, never. And yeah, Connecticut was too, so never once in my life.
No, never once. And so I think we both have the Lakers and Warriors coming out, but I have the Lakers winning that first round matchup. Call me crazy, but I think that the Lakers
man.
They're just gonna have their way with the Warriors, and then the Warriors are gonna have their way.
You want to be a front runner, you can be a front runner.
I know, it's such a boring pick, but I don't know, I guess I'm fucking boring. I got my boring balls out. They're extremely average, you know, not much to look at. If you've seen a pair of balls, you've seen mine.
Yeah, they're such boring balls. They're literally milk white. They got no hairs on them. There's nothing going on there.
All right. It's cool when I say it.
Hey, I mean, I can't lie to the audience.
Yeah, so in my scenario, let's pretend that the Lakers win their first round matchup. They get the 7 seed, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who do you think the Warriors would rather see between the Grizzlies and the Spurs? Because I think that they are a threat to lose to either one. I think they'd be the favorite, and I would pick the Warriors in either of those games. But who do you think is a more favorable matchup for Golden State?
I think the Warriors would rather pull the Spurs think the Grizzlies just have more energy and they're more exciting of a team.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Warriors would kind of have no problem just shutting down the Spurs. They both just kind of have that like institutional know-how, but the Warriors are just a better team at this point. I feel like the institutional know-how for the Spurs will do them better justice over the Grizzlies, just because the Grizzlies are such a young team that doesn't really know how to get it done. I think they would rather see the Spurs just because I think they know what they're getting against the Spurs, and I think they could take them down. I think the Grizzlies are more of a wild card.
You don't think that the Warriors are worried about that the tandem of great defending point guards that the Spurs have? You know, they could throw DeJounte Murray, Derek White, Patty Mills for stretches all out there on Steph. Kind of creates some matchup problems.
I don't think they're worried about anybody when it comes to Steph Curry. I don't think
that's fair.
There's anybody in the league that has really a chance at defending him unless you just have a gun.
But you have
if
to
you have
admit,
a gun, that's the only way you can defend Steph Curry. If you tell him if he shoots the ball, you're going to shoot him, and then that's your best chance at survival.
Oh man, Steph's pretty fearless.
Yeah, he might risk it all, dude.
Ball
is life, right?
He's like, oh shit, sick. 4-point play.
Yeah. And on, let's go.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm Steph, I'd much rather draw a matchup against Ja Morant than against DeJounte Murray. But I agree that as a complete team, that matchup aside, they would rather see the Spurs than the Grizzlies.
Well, I'm glad we agree on that one. I'm glad we can agree on something.
Yeah, right.
And yeah, unfortunately, the lower seeds of the plan, I mean, that's something that just might not ever really be that exciting, but there's at least a chance. And if one of those lower seeds does pull it out, if the Warriors or Lakers like somehow got knocked off,
that's right.
It would be pretty crazy, and it would be really exciting. So,
and you know what? The play-in tournament, it definitely incentivized like the Hornets to bring LaMelo back. Like I could, if there weren't for the play-in tournament, I could see them shutting LaMelo down for the season and, you know, tanking for the best draft pick that they could get at that point.
Exactly. And you still had, I mean, like Sacramento was still gunning for it a little bit. New Orleans was still gunning for it. You still had the Bulls and the Raptors.
Right. The Bulls made a massive trade deadline move that I think if it weren't for the play-in tournament, they otherwise wouldn't have made.
Yeah, I think so too. So, I mean, you really only had maybe 5 teams tanking this year, which usually it's every team that's not in the playoffs just begins tanking pretty much right away when they realize they're going to be out of it. So
right, it became on the other side of that Vucevic trade. It became quite obvious that the Magic were selling anybody who knew how to play basketball to try to get a good draft pick.
Oh yeah, and it's amazing. They traded away Vooch. They just started playing like. Honestly, I might have blacked out, and me and you might have played 2 games for the Magic this season. Like, who knows? Because they were just trotting fucking anybody out there, and they still ended up with 1 more win than the Pistons this year.
Oh, it's disgusting. The Pistons are just an abysmal joke.
That's a train wreck, bro. It's gross.
It just seems like they'll never figure it out, too. It's quite sad.
They're bad. And I hope they don't get a high pick either. I hope they get fucked on it. Just because. That'd be awesome.
I hope the Rockets get fucked.
I don't hope the Rockets get fucked. I hope the Rockets get a high pick.
Fertitta doesn't deserve to have any nice things. It's my school of thought.
I agree with that. I do feel bad for them with Harden just bullying his way out of there, though.
That's true. And
so
I love Christian Wood. I think he's awesome.
Yeah, and I can root for teams and hate their owners. That's
what being a Knicks fan's done to you, huh?
And that's what being a Knicks fan teaches you. You don't have to love every aspect of the organization. You can still root for the team.
All right. I think that's all the time we have. This has gone like twice as long as I envisioned it would. I'm going to try to I'm trying to give all you listeners just the good stuff. So I'll do my best in post. And I appreciate you all for listening. Zach, do you have anything to say?
Let's say we recorded nearly 2.5 hours. We'll see what we get that cut down to. But
Yeah.
this was a blast. This was fun to shoot the shit and talk basketball. And
Oh yeah, I can't wait to do it again.
yeah, it was honestly a great feeling out process and great to start to learn what's going on here and how to maybe cut ourselves off a little bit on things we just want to elaborate on.
Yeah,
and
man. We're a couple
we'll
motor
figure
mouths.
out. Yeah, we'll figure out how to get it concise, but it's better to have more. Better to have too much than not enough. So
Right. For those of you who made it to this point in the episode, thank you. First
fucking
of all,
big time thank you.
I condemn your willpower and your discipline to make it through, and I hope you enjoyed. And next time we meet, we're gonna recap the play-in tournament, and we will talk about future matchups in this crazy playoff tree.
Playoff basketball, baby. It's coming up.
That's right. All right.
Let's get ready for it. Anybody that gave us even a click, if you gave us a second of listening, thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Yep. Please subscribe. There'll be more content coming at you soon. We don't quite have like a schedule or dates hammered out yet, but we'll put content together while we can. We're a couple of busy guys, you know.
Well, yeah, we're going to keep the content coming. We're going to get some kind of schedule down. We're going to get pretty much everything else that we need down on this. But, I mean, this is fun, and I'm looking forward to the next episode.
Thanks for sitting with me with your balls out, Zach. I wouldn't want my balls to be out with anybody else.
Keeping the balls out for the boys. Forever.
Right. Keep your eyes out for our next episode. Tune in. Give it a listen. Tell your friends. And see you when I see you.
Peace out, everybody. Spread love. Boom, bang. All right. That was so long.